Noswaith da, good evening. We are back for another episode here on the NFL Cymru podcast with myself, Dyfed Cynan, Gito Williams. Just before we kind of get into things and taking a look back at the NFC and AFC Championship game, this is a big moment, Gito, because we couldn't start this episode in any other way by saying happy anniversary, happy first anniversary to the NFL Cymru pod, Gito. We've survived 12 months. And do you know what? I can't believe that it actually slipped my mind until Gito kindly reminded me a couple of minutes ago that we've been going for almost a year. So officially, Gito, I think you were saying it was the 30th of January 2025 that we uploaded our first ever episode. So here we are on the 28th of January 2026, previewing
Yeah.
the 2026 Super Bowl. So yeah, Gito, we've come a long way. It's great that we're still here. We're still having fun. The pod is going from strength to strength. And, I just want to say thank you, first of all, to you for your hard work, for sticking with me. And secondly, to all our contributors along the way as well. We've definitely we've encompassed ourselves in a really, really cool NFL Wales/UK community along the way over the last 12 months. So just wanted to start off with and a massive, obviously, thank you to our followers as well. Thank you for your contributions, for watching all of our content, and for supporting us for the last 12 months. And hopefully you can carry on to do that, and obviously we can grow in 2026. So there we are, Gito. So yeah, what a lovely way to start off this. It's not quite going to be a Super Bowl preview this episode. We're gonna keep that until next week, because obviously there's a 2 week break before the Super Bowl, second week of February. So yeah, can you believe it? We're still here, 12 months on.
Yeah, absolutely crazy. And yeah, thank you for helping me as well. I feel like don't want this to be a cheesy episode of some kind, but I feel like I've grown with you, David. This last year, it's been a learning curve for myself.
Likewise.
Obviously, you coming from a media background, I'm just a regular 9 to 5 person here in North Wales. But I've really enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to a strong 2026. And thank you to all the viewers for contributing throughout the year. Thank you for everyone who's been joining us on the pod. It's been so much fun, and we're looking forward to do it again. And thank you for basically going through 5 different hairstyles of mine, because I started off with long hair, I've had short hair, I'm in between now. So, yeah, thank you very much for everyone. And yeah, let's have a great 2026.
Yeah, so obviously it's taken me a year to wear some glasses as well. So I just thought, because it's the anniversary episode, that I popped on some glasses as well. So just trying out a new look here. But anyway, so obviously, like we said, we're gonna keep our Super Bowl preview to next week. We might be contributing on another pod with our good friend Canan as well, hopefully, because I'm going to be in North Wales, by the way, next week, working. So hopefully, actually we'll be able to see each other in the flesh once again, because it's been a while, and hopefully, potentially, we'll be able to join Canan on his pod, Ydy'r Helmed and Ffitio, rather, and hopefully we can get his views on the Super Bowl, and maybe on the Saints, and on the 2025-2026 season as well, because we've got a lot to cover outside of the Super Bowl this evening. So for those of you who watched the championship games, personally, Gito, I have to say, I didn't manage to watch the NFC Championship game at all. Unfortunately, I did tap in and out of the Broncos Patriots game that ultimately finished Broncos 7, Patriots 10. Not a classic by any stretch of imagination, Gito. Obviously, having the Broncos having Jarrett Stidham as their QB clearly didn't help. Also, the weather was absolutely terrible up in Denver as well. It was snowing by the second quarter as well, so it was basically a defensive slog. Completely different game to the shootout that we saw on the NFC between the Rams and the Seahawks as well. So ultimately, Gito, my question to you is: Super Bowl time in what, 10 days time? Patriots, Seahawks. Do you think the Patriots are going to be able to score points to keep up with the Seattle offense?
a very good question to start the podcast with. Yes, I do think the Patriots are going to score to try and catch up with the Seahawks. Winning the game, that's another question. We'll get to that probably next week. We'll leave our predictions for next week. But this game against the Denver Broncos, obviously football weather is very famous down in America over there, but the weather conditions should make a hell of a difference in that game. I don't think it would have made a difference for the Broncos if Bo Nix was playing or not, to be honest with you. I want to give Jarrett Stidham some flowers. I thought he actually did pretty good in that game. Obviously, a strong opening first quarter for him, scored through a touchdown, and completed the game with 133 yards. Could have been more if it wasn't for the weather, of course, but I thought with the situation with Bo Nix being injured during the divisional rounds, coming in with less than a week's training, against a defense of the Patriots caliber, who's probably top 3, top 4 in the league. He did okay. Obviously, the weather changed everything. And same goes to the Patriots as well. They couldn't really do as much. They relied a lot on their running game during that game as well. They did manage to win a game due to a Drake May running a third down towards the end of the game that ultimately progressed them to the Super Bowl. So, wasn't the prettiest of games at all whatsoever. A massive difference to the NFC Championship game between the Rams and the Seattle Seahawks. In Seattle, a very entertaining game, which ended up with 31-27 to the Seattle Seahawks. A very, very... It was mostly a dominant game from the Seattle Seahawks, I thought. The Rams had their moments as well, but I thought the Seattle Seahawks did dominate when they were on offense and did pretty well on defense as well. Like I said, Kenneth Walker and Jason Smith-Njigba making the difference again for the Seattle Seahawks. Sam Darnold, he can't do no wrong, can he? He can throw the ball anywhere and he can get 30, 40, 50 yards. Cooper Kupp scored against his old teammates as well. So, but it ultimately came down to the fourth quarter when the Rams did have their momentum, which happens in a game to everyone. They do tend to lose momentum. The other team do tend to win momentum. But it ultimately came down to running down the clock, and they ran out of time, and deservedly, the Seahawks did progress. So we have two top teams, the Seahawks and the Patriots, in the Super Bowl next week. I do expect this to be a very entertaining game. We'll give it more thought going into the Super Bowl preview that we're going to do sometime next week. Yeah, I think we're in a very good Super Bowl.
Yeah, well, it was on the NFC side. It was obviously the battle of the QBs and battle of the wide receivers as well. Obviously, Puka Nacua has had one of the best seasons that I've seen from a wide receiver in a long time. So he had close to 200 yards. And another one on the other side, Skitter, is Jackson Smith-Njigba. What an absolute baller he is as well.
Yeah.
So he had over 150 yards as well. And I think it's great. What a kind of circle moment for Cooper Kupp as well. Thinking, leaving the Rams after winning the Super Bowl, 4 years ago, I think, with the Rams, thinking that potentially his time was over as a Super Bowl champion. He's going back to the Super Bowl with the Seattle Seahawks as well. I thought that was absolutely brilliant. You mentioned the two QBs from the AFC side, Gitter. I just want to give a massive shout out to Sam Darnold, Gitter. I mean, what an incredible journey he has. I mean, from being one of the what was he, a top 5 pick coming out, going straight to the New York Jets, and unfortunately, any QB that goes to the Jets is going to be unsuccessful. We've seen it happen with Mark Sanchez. We've seen it happen with Sam Darnold and Zach Wilson as well. So clearly he was in a really rough situation, and he's just rebuilt his career, going from the Carolina Panthers to the Minnesota Vikings, and now having obviously a breakout season last year with the Vikings, and even better, he signed a big contract with the Seattle Seahawks. It was a massive kind of, some saw it as a massive risk, really, giving him that much money. And for those kind of years, and last year the talk was all about, well, when it comes down, in clutch moments, Sam Darnold doesn't come through. He's completely come through in the regular season and now in the playoffs as well for the Seattle Seahawks. The only thing that I will say, he's got an incredible team around him. The defense is not quite back to the Legion of Boom that we saw around, what, 8, 10 years ago with the Seattle Seahawks. But it's pretty close to that as well. And he's got a brilliant, like I said, he's got a fantastic running game with Kenneth Walker. He's got one of the best wide receivers in Jackson Smith and Jigba as well. And Cooper Cup can be very, very handy as well with his experience. So yeah, do you know what? We're gonna obviously we're talking about a lot about the Super Bowl at the moment, but I will be flying the flag for Sam Darnold and really really hoping that he has a good game in the Super Bowl because I think he deserved it. I think a lot of people doubted him and ultimately cast him aside and thought that he was a bust. So the way that he's just rebuilt his career, I think, has been absolutely incredible. And just a quick note on Matt Stafford as well, who ultimately I believe will eventually be the MVP of the league this year. I didn't think that Drake May had the best game at the AFC Championship game up in Bronx. Obviously, as a runner, he is. Um, a lot of people underestimate how good he is at scrambling, and ultimately, like you said, he got that first down in order to kill the game off. But throwing the ball, I was looking at the stats, and the Patriots, well, they were very, very unsuccessful throwing the ball. Again, obviously, you have to remember, that the elements of the weather clearly wasn't favourable that way as well. So, to be fair, Drake May keeps proving me and others wrong as well. So, who am I to doubt him? But ultimately, I'd just love to see Sam Darnold win a Super Bowl. I think that would be an incredible turnaround to a career. But anyway, so I thought, yeah, obviously a massive antithesis that we saw on the NFC side to it was a defensive struggle on the AFC, and we had obviously a shootout on the NFC side as well. So I thought, two teams that could have gone to the Super Bowl ultimately. And another thing, last thing that I'll say about the championship games, Gito, do you know now that Devontae Adams is 0-5 in championship games with the
Mm.
Green Bay Packers and now with the LA Rams as well? So he was very, very emotional in the post press conference, and you can imagine being 0-5, being one step away from the Super Bowl. I'm sure that must have been really, really tough for him.
Yeah, it's the game that nobody wants to lose. It's the game that's getting you closer to the Super Bowl. It's unfortunate about his record, but it is what it is. At the end of the day, he's always at the losing side of the team. I just want to give a quick shout as well to Sam Darnold, and imagine where we would be today if 2 or 3 seasons ago, JJ McCarthy didn't get injured when he was the number 3 pick for the Minnesota Vikings. If that never happened, we would see
Absolutely.
JJ McCarthy playing for the Vikings throughout the season. Sam Darnold would not have had his chance. That was his breakout season for the Vikings, and it was pretty much, although you do like to see a player getting injured, it was a blessing in disguise for Sam Darnold to get that opportunity after JJ McCarthy got injured to be in the, and it's because of that. It's because of that he's in the situation that he is now. Obviously, he had a similar record for
Yeah.
the Vikings, 14-3. Obviously, they didn't make it as far in the playoffs. 14-3 this season for the Seattle Seahawks, and now he's made the Super Bowl. So, an incredible turnaround from what happened when he got drafted for the New York Jets. Didn't work out. Going to the Panthers didn't really work out. The Vikings was a blessing in disguise for him with JJ McCarthy, and look at him now for the Seattle Seahawks in the Super Bowl. And yeah, just like you, David, I will be waving the flag for him as well and hoping he does really well and potentially win the game. We'll go to our preview next week with our predictions, but yes, I will be waving my flag as well.
Yeah, last note for me on Sam Darnold, and I'm glad you agree. But I think the stop that we can't overlook is when he went from the Panthers to the 49ers and he worked as a
Yeah,
backup. I believe it was for Brock Purdy then. So
yes.
I think being with the with the San Francisco offense rather, and up with Shanahan with Kyle Shanahan, I think that rebuilt his confidence. And there were signs when he was playing for the 49ers as well. Oh, this guy has still got it, or like you said, he was rebuilding his confidence, and when obviously, like you said, a brilliant point there. You know what would have happened if McCarthy wouldn't have got injured, and I mean it's incredible to think now that after this season, who knows? Some of the Vikings. Some of the Vikings fans think that McCarthy might even be a bust even after this one season as well. So yeah, absolutely, we're all absolutely. So the pod is behind Sam Darnold, and hopefully he can potentially be on the winning side, and who knows, win the Super Bowl MVP as well. But anyway, um, so like we said, we're gonna park the Super Bowl slash preview there, because potentially we might be previewing it here on the NFL Cymru pod, and potentially, like we said, with Cynan on his pod as well. So Gito, the majority of head coaching jobs have been filled. However,
Yeah.
some interesting acquisitions over the last week. Where should we start off? Should we start off in Pittsburgh? This is a fantastic story for me. So the Pittsburgh Steelers have announced that they are hiring Mike McCarthy, former Green Bay, former Dallas Cowboys coach, as their new head coach. And I'm for those of you who haven't seen the press conference when they announced Mike McCarthy as their new head coach. So he's a guy. He's a Pittsburgh man. He's from Pittsburgh himself, and he was so emotional in that press conference. A lot of people are making the connection. Mike McCarthy, Aaron Rodgers. Does that mean Aaron Rodgers is going to come back and play another down, or potentially another year in the NFL? Personally, I think he's done. But it's a very interesting hire that they've done over in Seattle, sorry, in Pittsburgh. And the other thing that they're going to announce, I think, in the next couple of days, is they're going to hire Patrick Graham as their DC, former Raiders DC. Patrick Graham as their DC. So yeah, in terms of Mike McCarthy, personally, I was surprised that he wasn't interviewed for the Dolphins job. And I'm not sure if he's interviewed actually anywhere else. So yeah, Gito, any thoughts on McCarthy going to the Steelers?
Yeah, I was very surprised about this when I read about it on Saturday night. To be completely honest with you, I was not expecting this move at all. But looking into it properly, I think it's a positive one for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Obviously, he's from Pittsburgh himself. Obviously, he's been in the back room before. He was a wide receiver coach for the Pittsburgh at one point. He actually won the Super Bowl with Green Bay against Pittsburgh Steelers as well. So hopefully he can return the favor and bring some of that Lombardi Trophy to Pittsburgh in his time, depending on how much time he's actually got left in the NFL. Because speaking to my dad, who is a Pittsburgh fan, he was hoping for a maybe a much younger acquisition in the head coaching role. Obviously, there's obviously a bit of a thing when an older person gets the head coaching role over some talented younger people who deserves a chance. But I think looking into this properly, I do think that Mike McCarthy he's got all the experience, I think, to be a decent head coach still in the NFL. Obviously, his time in with the Dallas Cowboys, obviously Dallas Cowboys being the franchise that they are, which can be quite controversial from time to time. Obviously, it was a difficult job for him. But yeah, I think Pittsburgh Steelers, they'll be quite content with this one, and it'd be exciting to see how he gets on with the Pittsburgh Steelers next season.
Yeah, I personally, I think it's a brilliant hire from the Steelers. He has wealth of experience. His
Yeah,
resume speaks for himself. He's a Super Bowl winner with the Green Bay Packers, obviously over
yeah,
12 years, 15 years ago. I think personally he did a good job, Guitars, at Dallas. He got them to the playoffs 2 out of the 3 seasons, obviously. But the problem that you have with Dallas is, even as a head coach, you ultimately don't run that team, because obviously you've got Jerry Jones in the background, and he runs the team, and you're basically handcuffed to Jerry Jones. So you wish any head coach of the Dallas Cowboys good luck, because you've got the pedigree, you've got the the added pressure being the formerly, America's team and whatever, and you've got Jerry Jones to deal with. So yeah, it doesn't appease me at all. But anyway, yeah, I quite like that hire. I have to say, there's a lot of movement in the AFC North. So shall
Yeah.
we stick on with that? And maybe a controversial hire, Gito, that has just been announced a couple of hours ago, over in Cleveland. Um, this is absolutely wild. So Todd Monken, the former Ravens OC, has been
Yeah.
picked, or will be announced very, very shortly as the new head coach of the Cleveland Browns, over their current slash, well, about to be former DC and frontman Jim Schwartz. Apparently, Jim Schwartz is extremely upset about this. That he was basically um, that he was, that he feels that he was overlooked for this job, and
Yeah.
that potentially he deserved it, and maybe he thought it was a shoo-in that he was going to get promoted from being DC to head coach. But turns out, former Ravens, like I said, OC Todd Monken has actually gone in there. So fully expecting Jim Schwartz to leave Cleveland, although he's still under contract, and potentially he's going to be he's definitely going to be going elsewhere, and he's going to be able to pick, because he's one hell of a DC. So yeah, brave call, Gito, shall we say, from the Cleveland Browns. Maybe not for the first time.
Yeah, I think this just pretty much sums up Cleveland Brown as a franchise as a whole, to be honest with you. I don't think this is an exciting acquisition for the Cleveland Browns. Todd Monken, he is 54 years old. Apart from the fact that he's worked with Lamar Jackson for the last few years, if I was a Browns fan, I wouldn't be confident with this at all. And I'm not surprised their defensive coordinator is quite upset about it either. I think they should have gone for a promoted side of it, for someone who's been there for the last couple of seasons. But yeah, this is the way the Browns have been going. So yeah, like you said, another controversial pick and another controversial moment. Maybe not as surprising for the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah, I mean, the Browns have been a mess on offense for a long, long time under Kevin Stefanski. And to be fair, we talked last week, Gito, about the amount of QBs Kevin Stefanski has had to deal with over the last couple of years. So I mean,
Yeah.
who knows who the starting QB of the Cleveland Browns is going to be in September? Is it going to be Shadur Sanders? Is it going to be Dylan Gabriel? I genuinely have absolutely no idea. Is it going to be Deshaun Watson? I don't know. So I thought it was interesting that they stuck with an offensive mind instead of switching to someone like Jim Schwartz, obviously, who's been there, that knows the team inside out. And I think Cleveland's defense was pretty decent. I mean, obviously, Miles Garrett is Miles Garrett, but Miles Garrett has had one of the best seasons for a defensive player in the history of the NFL, and breaking the sacks record and whatever. So, yeah, I expect a lot of backlash from Jim Schwartz over the next couple of days. And yeah, like I said, if I was a Cleveland fan, I'd be very wary of this acquisition as well. Another kind of underwhelming, potentially higher Gito, hearing from Bills fans, was ultimately the Bills decided to promote their offensive coordinator, Joe Brady. Again, the word that comes to mind here is very underwhelming, I have to say. We heard a lot, that, apparently Anthony Weaver, former Dolphins DC, even Mike McDaniel, former Dolphins head coach, was about to, and another one, obviously, the joke that we had last week was Philip Rivers. Obviously, he apparently he auditioned for the role as well. Gito, what do you think of this one? This to me screams out, potentially the ownership has gone to Josh Allen and they've said, how do you feel if we promote Joe Brady, your offensive coordinator, to head coach? Because this seems to me that they potentially have appeased Josh Allen here.
Yeah, I actually made a prediction last week that, well, not a prediction. I thought instead of going for Philip Rivers, they would have. I thought they would have promoted Joe Brady, and turns out that that's what they did. So I'm glad I got that prediction right anyway. But I can understand both sides of it, that it can be a bit underwhelming. But I think the Bills are being very careful here with who they're bringing in, because obviously it's such a big franchise now, the Buffalo Bills, and they just missed out on making the playoffs again and the AFC Championship games. Obviously, they were do everything they can to keep Josh Allen happy, and obviously with Joe Brady being with Josh Allen for quite some time, I think that's the direction that they felt as the ball that they had to go, because they don't want to lose Josh Allen or make an upset. So they're hoping that this, I wouldn't call it a rebuild, but probably a recharge for the Buffalo Bills. Get some fresh ideas in from their offensive coordinator, Joe Brady. Bring in some new staff, maybe some quality staff that he can bring in, I'm not sure. But yeah, I can understand both sides to this one. I can see some excitement to it as well, if I'm being completely honest with you. Obviously not the biggest name out there in terms of manager contention, head coaches contention, but I think it was the safer option for the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, and I think that's the word for it, Gito. I think it's very, very safe. I, maybe some fans, some people would say it lacks initiative. It lacks kind of it lacks kind of, to the lack of a better word, it lacks balls as well to kind of really, and you're not shooting for the sky here by promoting Joe Brady potentially. The only thing that I would say, if I was a Bills fan, Gitter, okay, fair enough, you're getting an offensive mind who knows the team and knows Josh Allen and knows his game, inside out. The first thing that I would, if I was Joe Brady, I would turn to the GM and the owners and say, okay, get me some weapons. Because that's the thing that's been lacking in the Bills offense for the last 2 or 3 years, especially at wide receiver. So I think that they might target a wide receiver in the first round of the draft. I don't know, or they've had a lot of problems on defense as well, especially, you pointed out that they were one of the worst teams in terms of run defense in the NFL during the season as well. So yeah, obviously the more offensive weapons they can have to lift the load off Josh Allen is obviously going to be better. They've got some talented tight ends in Dalton Kincaid, but they definitely need some help outside of Khalil Shakir and Coleman, that's been in the doghouse towards the end of the season as well. So yeah, as a Dolphins fan, Gitto, that doesn't scare me at all. Joe Brady as the new Bills head coach whatsoever, to be honest with you, because ultimately we know now that not only are we going to have to deal with the Bills for the next couple of years, we're also rather going to have to deal with the Patriots, who are back in the Super Bowl. But anyway, I digress. So we're only left, Gittot, two open head coaching slots. So the only teams that now are still searching for a head coach are the Las Vegas Raiders and the Arizona Cardinals. Gittot, this screams out to me. Both teams are targeting Clint Kubiak, the Seattle Seahawks offensive coordinator. He has interviewed for both. However, interestingly, another name to look out for is Brian Dable. He's just had a second interview with the Raiders as well. Former Giants head coach who was let go, and another candidate for the Cardinals was former Panthers and Commanders head coach Ron Rivera as well. So that's a blast from the past. But ultimately, I think it's going to be a shootout between those two. Who wins? Clint Kubiak, and it's as simple as that, really.
Yeah, I think Tom Brady's trying to work out a pretty tasty deal for Clint Kubiak to join the Las Vegas Raiders. And obviously, it's a complete rebuild for the Las Vegas Raiders. And obviously, you have the number one pick in the draft this year. You've got Ashton Genty to work around. You've got Brock Bowers. You've got a lot of work to do on offense. And I think for a head coach, to join the LA Raiders and have Tom Brady at the helm as well, I think it might be pretty exciting, but a very difficult job to go to as well. I'm surprised the Steelers didn't go for him, and there was no reports that the Steelers interviewed him. So I was actually quite surprised about that one, to be honest with you. But obviously they went for McDaniels instead. So, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see where he ends up after the Super Bowl. And yeah, like I said, I think Tom Brady is cooking something really interesting for him.
Well, yeah. I mean, another thing as well is if you can imagine that if Kubiak, like you said, if you predict that he's going to go to the Raiders, I mean, more than likely he's going to be working with the number one overall pick in QB Fernando Mendoza. Let's be honest,
Yeah,
because he's the
yeah,
only top caliber quarterback really that's going to be in the first round of the draft, which is going to be upon us pretty shortly, Gito. But obviously, before then, we've got one of my favourite times of the season, which is free agency. I can't wait for that.
yeah.
But anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself here. But yeah, absolutely. I think the kind of the writing is on the wall that Kubiak will eventually go to the Raiders and kind
Mm.
of marry himself with Mendoza. And I mean, it's definitely not a 1 year fix. Let's be honest. In Las Vegas, they've got a lot of issues on defense. Um, I think the only reason that the Steelers weren't involved at trying to get Kubiak is probably, I don't know, the Steelers kind of like traditionally have favoured defensive mind head coaches, and I guess that's why they've gone with McCarthy. Although he can also be he is ultimately an OC, or a former OC, because he was calling plays whilst he was at Dallas and Green Bay as well. So yeah, so in terms of the Cardinals, who potentially might lose out on getting Clint Kubiak, I generally don't know who's their backup. Really, is it going to be Brian Dable? Is it going to be, I don't know? Is it going to be Ron Rivera? Another note or another name that we haven't kind of considered here, Gitter, is Sean McDermott, former Bills head coach. Is he going to take some
Mm.
time out? Does he want to go straight back into a head coaching job like John Harbaugh did, or is he going to take the Mike Tomlin route, take a year out, maybe do some media, potentially work in the booth, or I don't know, work for ESPN, CBS, or whatever, and then potentially wait for another candidate to come around in a year's time. So yeah, that'll be really interesting to see as well, because he would be a really, really good name and a really prominent head coach, Sean McDermott as well. So to finish off, Guitar, should we talk about some? Um, well, should we firstly get to Bill Belichick and his snub in the Hall of Fame, which I think is absolutely hilarious. Genuinely, I mean, the arrogance of the man. I know he's got the resume to back it up, but I just think it's absolutely hilarious that he wasn't a first ballot Hall of Famer. And obviously, there has been uproar throughout the NFL community about this. What's your take on this?
And rightly so. And rightly so. I think this is a ridiculous voting system that they've done. He deserves his own statue, Bill Belichick. He does. After what he's done with the New England Patriots, he's currently at the North Carolina college team, which will be playing in Dublin this year. But back to the NFL, it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. Yeah, I was surprised when I heard about it. Like I said, I think he deserves a statue. If he doesn't deserve to be a first ballot Hall of Famer, no head coach should be a first ballot Hall of Famer, I don't think. And that's what's been the argument throughout the NFL community, and I completely agree with it. I think he was 10 votes away because he needed 50 votes to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. He only got 40, so there's 10 people out there that doesn't think he's a first ballot Hall of Famer. I don't think they should be in the judging panel at all, to be quite honest with you. And I've only been watching the NFL for just about 10 years. They call themselves, professionals, judges. Yeah, no. Give him his own statue. Give him his own Hall of Fame. The voting system is absolutely stupid and ridiculous.
I just wonder, Guitar, is the way that his era finished in New England, does that go against him? The fact that he's been so unsuccessful at college level, like you said, with the North Carolina Tar Heels. And ultimately, there's always going to be that division, that question of, the Patriots dynasty. Is it down to Tom Brady or is it down to Bill Belichick? And I'm not sure which side of the gate or which side of the fence that you stand here. Um, it is it a snub on paper? Yes. Um, he was. I think people have to remember that he was very, very unsuccessful as a head coach with the Cleveland Browns before he went to the Patriots as well. And obviously, did he fall into a really, really good situation with the Patriots? I don't know, but obviously and the only other thing that I would say as well, with Bill Belichick, his disciples. That's the only thing that I'll say about Bill Belichick is the Bill Belichick tree of coaches that have come. You're talking about, who are you talking about here? Brian Flores, who's come from there. Who else has been? Ben McAdoo. All of these coaches have been. Josh McDaniels is another one. Have been very, very unsuccessful as head coaches in the NFL. Um, so there's an argument for both sides, but I totally get why it's quite shocking that he has been snubbed from being a first ballot Hall of Famer. But yeah, when I just saw the news, I just kind of quietly laughed to myself after enduring 15 years of the Patriots dynasty. So yeah, but I mean, I'm sure that potentially, I don't know if this is going to kind of trigger a change in the voting system, like you said, or he's going to get in next year. Because another one to look out in the NFL for Hall of Fame is Eli Manning. He splits division as well. Who should he be a first ballot Hall of Famer? Two Super Bowls against Brady and things like that, stopping the Patriots from winning the perfect season. But anyway, apart from that, should we finish off, Gito, with another absolutely ridiculous call? This time in the Pro Bowl, somehow, and I think this is an absolute joke. This is probably one of the worst things that I've heard all year. Shadir Sanders somehow is a Pro Bowl QB, having you know stepped into the plate. He's played less than half a season for the Cleveland Browns. He came with all this bravado. He didn't win the starting job over Dylan Gabriel. He was preferred. He wasn't the preferred choice by Kevin Stefanski. And somehow, because he's an alternate, obviously, because there's been either injuries to QBs or obviously Drake May is going to be in the Super Bowl very, very shortly. But I mean, in what world, Gitter, is Shadir Sanders a Pro Bowl quarterback? Surely it's an absolute joke.
It's another absolute ridiculous decision here going on in the NFL. I don't know what's going on, to be honest with you, this week. It's I think everyone's still drunk from the championship weekend. So Shadir Sanders, he's played less than a half a season, and he's not been that impressive, to be honest with you. He had one decent showing in pre-season before the regular season. I personally don't like his attitude to the game. I don't like what he brings in, to be honest with you. I'm certainly not that much of a fan of him at the moment. So, but that's a personal thing anyway. For him to be a Pro Bowler at this stage, why didn't Cam Ward get the hint? He's been playing all season. Okay, the Titans aren't that great of a team, but obviously he's had a better season than Shadir Sanders. I think the reason I went for Shadir Sanders is to try bring more eyes to the Pro Bowl, because I personally don't watch Pro Bowl. I don't know who does, to be quite honest with you. It's not as much of a spectacle as it once used to be. So I take no interest in the Pro Bowl whatsoever. So I think that's all it is, just for more clout, for more eyes to the game for that weekend. But yeah, a pretty stupid decision for me, to be honest with you, to include someone like Shadir Sanders to the Pro Bowl, who obviously you've got players. Obviously, as you mentioned, Drake May, he's going to the playoffs. Bo Nix is injured, he won't be able to make it. Patrick Mahomes, he's not going to be able to make it. So Yeah, they had to pick someone. I would have personally gone for Cam Ward just because he's played a full season. He's actually shown some moments during the season in a terrible season for the Tennessee Titans. But yeah, I digest. To go with Shedeur Sanders for me is ridiculous.
Oh, yeah, you said Cam Ward is a brilliant shout. Ultimately, I think Cam Ward is going to be an absolute star in this league. He's shown um, so much upside and so much potential. Like you said, with a really a horrific offensive line and no weapons at all. And Gito, but another one for me, even more obvious than Cam Ward, is Trevor Lawrence. Why isn't Trevor Lawrence in the Pro Bowl?
Exactly. Yeah. Another crazy decision that he's not been even thought about. It did slip my mind, so apologies. But yeah, he's in contention for an MVP award. He's in the contention. He's probably not going to win it,
Yeah.
but the fact that he's in contention just shows how much of a good season that he's had. I'm not sure if he's injured or anything or not. He's in contention as well, and potentially going to a comeback player of the year as well. So yeah. I don't pay much attention to the Pro Bowl games, if I'm being completely honest with you. It's great to see players that you're a fan of making the Pro Bowls, but in terms of the games itself, it doesn't interest me whatsoever. And yeah, I won't be taking any interest in it whatsoever. No wish to do Sanders in it either.
Yeah, it is absolutely rigged, as they say. It reminds me of, I think it was 2 or 3 seasons ago, when out of nowhere, after having a terrible season, Matt Jones made made the playoffs when he was with the Patriots, and it was just you would just watch. I think I watched highlights of the Pro Bowl, and just the fact that you just saw him there, his face was he was just so out of sorts, and surrounded by all the best players in the NFL in their positions, and then he just stuck out as a sore thumb. I think Shedeur is going to be exactly the same, but I completely agree with what you're saying. It's all about getting more eyes on the Pro Bowl. Potentially, Shedeur is going to be a talking point, isn't he? We're already talking about it, and he's going to be even more. He's going to be hyped up over the next couple of days before the Pro Bowl. Before the Pro Bowl starts on the weekend as well. So yeah, absolutely crazy things coming out of the NFL this week. So yeah, I think we've covered everything, Gito, for this one. So stay tuned for the Super Bowl preview. That will be up within the next week or so, and potentially, like we said, we might have two on separate accounts next week with our friend Canan from Ydyr Helmed and Fitio. So yeah, once again, Gito, we're just gonna. I think the only way to end this pod is to say to everyone, enjoy your weekend. But more than that, thank you so much once again for your support. It's coming up to pretty much a year since we've been doing these evenings, these pods. From growing to, we started on just on Spotify, and now obviously we're on YouTube and on socials, and Fair Play Guitar in terms of his creativity with the socials, and we're now on TikTok as well. So some of our reels are doing pretty well on TikTok. If you're on TikTok, please go and check us out. What's our title, or what's our name on TikTok, Ito?
I believe it's just simply NFL Cymru on TikTok. So yeah, our last reel, our predictions for the championship weekend did pretty well on that one. The week before that, when we broke the news that John Harbaugh was fired, it was a great one for me to edit as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, please check us out on TikTok. Same as Instagram as always, same as Twitter as always, at Wales NFL, NFL Cymru on TikTok, and subscribe to us on YouTube as well. And yeah, just to forward for what you said, David, I just want to thank you all again, the viewers, for it's been a great year for us, and we're hoping for a much bigger, stronger, and better 2026.
Yeah, absolutely. Here. So weirdly, Guitar, I think I was, well, no, I remember I was in North Wales this time last year, just after the Super Bowl, because I remember watching the Super Bowl from my hotel room whilst on tour in North Wales. And weirdly, I'm going to be in North Wales as well next week, the week before the Super Bowl. So it's kind of like almost again, like we were talking about this, even a circle moment. So that's going to be interesting. So I will be recording from a hotel room, by the way, next week. I won't be behind the all the glitz and the glam here in Cardiff. So yeah, like I said, thank you so much again for your support. Really hope that you enjoy your weekend. Um, whether you want to watch the Pro Bowl games this weekend before the build up to the Super Bowl really kicks off potentially at the beginning of next week, make sure that you stay tuned with us here at the NFL Cymru Pod. So therefore, from myself and Gito, once again, happy anniversary to the NFL Cymru Pod, and we'll see you again this time next week. Diolch yn fawr iawn.